I know how that goes. All right, everybody, good afternoon. It is now 6:32, and I'm going to call this meeting to order of the joint Lincoln County and Sioux Falls Planning Commissions. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded, and the order of events tonight will be as follows. For each public hearing, staff will introduce the agenda item and present a summary of the staff report. The applicant will then be asked to explain their proposal in further detail and to answer any questions from the Planning Commission members. I will then open the floor to public comment, first for persons in support of the application, then for persons in opposition of the application. When you step up to the podium, please state your name, address, and speak clearly into the microphone. Speakers are encouraged only to address new and relevant information pertaining to the item. Above all, please be cordial to all meeting participants and refrain from side conversations and speaking out of turn. Please direct all the conversations to the council up front. We will limit the public input to 5 minutes. Lastly, decisions on conditional use permit applications may be appealed to the County Board of Commissioners and the City Council by submitting a letter to the County and Planning and Zoning Office within 5 business days. All right, we got that formality out of the way. So I will do roll call for Lincoln County. Commissioner Hogan?
Here.
Commissioner Ensted?
Here.
Commissioner Green?
Here.
Commissioner Poppins?
Here.
And Commissioner Jungling is also here. City Sioux Falls?
On the city side, good evening, everyone. I'll also call the roll for the city commission. Commissioner Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher,
Yes.
Commissioner Kittams,
Yes.
Commissioner Paulson,
Yes.
and I'm Chairman Kurt Johnson, and we have a quorum on the city side.
Thank you. All right, next is the approval of minutes. Has everyone seen the minutes, and are there any changes?
I would move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Oh,
Thank you.
second.
Motion and second, discussion? All right, Lincoln County. Commissioner Hogan,
Yes.
Commissioner Ensted,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins,
Yes.
Commissioner Jungling is also a yes.
City commissioners, we have approval of the minutes on the county side. Do I have a motion on the city side?
So moved. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Kittams and a second by Commissioner Irvin to approve the minutes. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher,
Yes.
Commissioner Kittams,
Yes.
Commissioner Paulson,
Yes.
and Commissioner Johnson's also a yes. Minutes are approved on the city side.
Thank you. We'll go approval of the agenda. Mr. Brown, any changes to the agenda tonight? No changes, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much. I'll ask for a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All right, a motion and a second. Lincoln County side, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll do roll call. Commissioner Hogan,
Yes.
Commissioner Ensted,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins,
Yes.
Commissioner Jungling is also a yes.
City Commission, we have approval of the meeting's agenda on the county side. Do I have a motion on the city side?
Move for approval. Irvin. I'll second. Fisher.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call the roll. Commissioner Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher,
Yes.
Commissioner Kittams,
Yes.
Commissioner Paulson,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson's also a yes. We're approved.
Thank you. Any unfinished business to consider, Mr. Brown?
None, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, let's move to public hearings and number 1, please.
First is public input on the non-agenda items.
Oh, I missed that one. All right, I got excited. Just want to get to these agenda items. They're great. All right, this time I'll ask for public input on anything that's not on the agenda for tonight. Seeing none, I'll close the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Toby Brown, representing County Planning. Tonight, before us, this first item, the applicant and owner is Rex Storage LLC. Location is approximately 1.4 miles south of the city of Sioux Falls corporate limits. Parcel size of this is 6.79 acres. As you can see, the subject parcel is zoned C commercial. And this is an aerial of the property as well. These are some photos that were taken of the property. As you can see, looking west into the property would be looking directly into the existing Phase 1 building that's under construction currently. This was the site plan that was submitted with the application. So if the board recalls, in 2021, the board approved a conditional use permit for warehousing, storage on the property. At that time, that conditional use permit limited the development on the property to 88,300 square feet. The applicants, and essentially that left off Phase 3, and then Phase 1 and Phase 2 are a little bit larger than what they were originally proposed. But the applicant is now requesting to increase the total size on the property of warehousing to 124,788 square feet on the property. And I'll close this one here. So staff did review the application, and throughout the staff report did identify that this application again is in conformance with the comprehensive plan and the zoning ordinance. And staff does recommend that the original conditions, the 6 that were in the approval of 2021, be replaced with these new conditions. And primarily that's just to conform with the new site plan that was submitted with the application. But with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have for staff. Otherwise, the applicant is in attendance this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Lincoln County, any questions for staff?
Have you heard from anybody, any surrounding neighbors or anything about, since it was a public hearing, has anybody reached out?
Not prior to this evening, no.
All right, City of Sioux Falls?
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, any questions? Nope. Oh,
Thank you.
All right, with that, I will ask the applicant to come forward and talk about their application.
My name is Ryan Van Dong. Address is 908 East Coil Run Circle in Sioux Falls. So we are just moving on to Phase 3. Phase 1 and 2 are going extremely well, so we just need to increase our conditional use permit on the square footage to add the third building.
Okay. Good?
Pretty
Okay.
easy, yep.
All right, Lincoln County Commissioners, any questions for the applicant?
Quiet group tonight.
Yeah, it
Mr.
is.
Chairman.
All
I
right,
think this one's just kind of self-explanatory. It meets the existing site plan that was originally presented, so we're good to go, I think, on this side. So we'll see what the public says.
all right, I do have a couple questions for you. So, this is your second time you're coming for an increase, correct, on size from the original?
First time.
Okay. So, yeah, okay, because I remember the first time you guys came to us and we actually denied the application. And then it was appealed to the city of Sioux Falls and it was approved. And when we were, site plan, we were given it a lot of trees and stuff like that. Now, we got 3 phases and asking for increases. So that's just, I just want to put that on the record, because when we change something from ag to commercial or what it is, we change it to commercial, a lot of different things can happen on that property, even though it goes forward with, trees and it looks nice and all that. Now it's asking for another increase in size in the middle of a field. And I've received a couple of calls about garbage across the field and from the neighbors. I know some of the neighbors, so I've got a couple of calls about that. So I just ask that you
Yep, which we've been
keep that garbage clean. I know it's windy, but.
windy out there and we've been working on it, so.
Yep, no, I get that. As construction happens, that happens, just I just want to make a note of that.
Yep.
City of Sioux Falls?
City Commissioners, any questions? I do have one real quick. With the additional conditions they put on here, you're fine with all the ones that are listed as you've seen
Yeah,
them?
the only thing that I did notice, number 4 and 6 are the same. So, but otherwise, everything else should be the same.
They really wanted to emphasize
I guess
that
so,
one.
yeah.
It's an important,
Wanted to make sure of that, so.
it's an important one.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, I'll ask anybody come forward in favor of the application. Seeing none, I'll ask anybody in opposition of the application to come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the floor to public comment, and I will ask for a motion from the Lincoln County Commissioners.
I'll make a motion to approve with the conditions that's set forward here, obviously striking the redundant one. Yeah, make a motion to approve green.
Second instead.
All right, we have a motion, and a second. Any further discussion, Commissioners? All right, I'll call for a roll call. Commissioner Hogan,
Yes.
Commissioner Ensted,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
I'll say yes also. City of Sioux Falls?
City Commissioners, the item number 1 has been approved on the county side. Can I have a motion on the city side?
I'll go ahead and make a motion with the number 6 removed, the redundant item.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, considering all the conditions minus the duplicate. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher,
Yes.
Commissioner Kidams,
Yes.
Commissioner Paulson,
yes,
and I'll also be a yes. Item is approved on the city side.
Thank you. Congratulations, guys. All right, Mr. Brown, number 2.
So I don't have fancy pictures for this one, but I'll go through it. So within the zoning ordinance, there's a provision, as I've outlined here in italics, that an applicant can request, which we typically do as a zone change or boundary change on the zoning map. There's also language that an applicant can request a change in the regulations. I know the city of Sioux Falls does it differently as far as initiating amendments from the citizens. And I know that the county used to do it differently as well, but the current process is that we do have an application that allows a citizen to initiate a text, what I'll call a text amendment change. And so Dalton Grimace submitted a text amendment change to specifically an ordinance that the board adopted last year, and that was for medical cannabis. And the specific regulation that he's addressing is that, and a little bit of a quick background here is that in 2021, the elected officials of Lincoln County and Sioux Falls amended these joint regulations to allow medical cannabis establishments, all 4 medical cannabis establishments within the C commercial district. And one of those standards, and again, that's a permissive use, and so there was standards that were attached to that use. And one of those standards is that there be a 1,000-foot setback from a single-family dwelling. And there was no waiver established for that, and again, it's a permissive type use. And so Dalton identified some property in the county that has a dwelling on it that's not within a residential district. It's a non-conforming use. But per the ordinance, we don't treat it that. We treat it as a dwelling not within that district. And so Dalton identified submitted an application that would limit essentially single-family dwellings to the A1, the RR, the RS1, the RS2, the RD, the RA1, and the PD. And so the ones that were left off would be the RC Rec District and the Commercial District, the I1 Light Industrial District, and the I2 General Industrial District. And so staff reviewed the application. We identified some language within the comprehensive plan. We looked back to the real intent of the ordinance amendment for medical cannabis. And so staff really identified that this application wasn't in conformance with the zoning or the or the comprehensive plan, which of course is the Shape Sioux Falls 2040 plan. And really kind of identified in the staff report a couple of issues. The first being is that, and I know when the elected officials and even when the planning commissions were adopting this in 2021, there was a lot of discussion, well, why does Sioux Falls have different standards? And then when you go into the county, the general county ordinance, we have completely different standards than what this is too. And so there was a question, why is there different standards? And so really, it's because we're different elected bodies, but to get to this ordinance and what this requirement is, again, this is a permissive use, so there's no public hearings. It's an administrative type permit. And then really what we stated is that the 1,000-foot setback is for other uses within the commercial district as well. It also encompasses schools and it encompasses churches and some of those things. And so those didn't really specify non-conforming uses. So we really identified to take away a right from something, a use that's, granted it's a non-conforming use, would still be taking away that classification from a residential structure. And so that was really the analysis put into it. But certainly, it's difficult for staff to kind of analyze an application like this because it's someone proposing a change in essentially rule or regulation. But we identified that it wasn't in conformance with those current standards. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have for staff. We did reach out to the applicant and weren't able to get a hold of him, so I don't see him here tonight unless he has a representative or not. So, okay, good. Okay, so with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have for staff at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Lincoln County, any questions for staff? Okay.
City Commission, any questions for staff on this item?
Okay, thank you.
All right, at this time, I'll ask the applicant or the representative to come forward and talk about the application.
Thank you. My name is Sandy Grimius. I'm 48248 268th Street, Brandon. Dalton is my son, and he's out of town on business. So what we're trying to do here is the medical cannabis dispensary. And that area there is an industrial area, not just commercial, not residential. It is an industrial area. What the Planning and Zoning Commission suggested was that we try to change the wording of the ordinance to say not within 1,000 feet of a residence in a residential zoned district, which this is not. It is the industrial. And there, like he said too, it requires us to conform to a non-conforming use. It would be preferred to change that rather than a conditional use permit. Although I know Sioux Falls does and Minnehaha County both have conditional use permits, which is not available at this time. And we feel the intent of the ordinance was not to prevent a business from operating in a properly zoned area. The wording, or in this case maybe miswording, of an ordinance should not prevent an otherwise lawful business to do business. While we agree there should be minimum setback requirements from residents in properly zoned areas, we don't feel that planning and zoning discrepancies should eliminate our business type. I'm unaware of any other businesses that are required to be in a commercial or industrial area that have these setback requirements. And we could be wrong, but as far as we've looked into, no one else has that. As a matter of fact, I could put in that building that we are looking at, I could put in a seed chemical business. I could do hazardous materials. I mean, there's a lot of things that I could do in that building there, which the medical cannabis, to me, is a lot lesser of all the evils, if you want to even consider it an evil. The home was built in the 1980s in the industrial area. We spoke to Jason Kangas, the owner of the Twisted Chopper and homeowner, his two businesses together, and he has no problem with us being there. He said he wasn't opposed for our business and insisted we did not need his permission to be there. The business at 271st and Tallgrass is impacted by the sole resident built in an industrial zoned area due to the wording of the ordinance. That's my,
Thank you, Danny. Lincoln County Commissioners, any questions for the applicant?
No, I think she has a good understanding of why she had to come here. Excuse me. I'll get the mic on, sorry. Didn't get April yelling at me yet. But it's the conflict that we have to deal with. The home, we've got a lot of zoning issues and we try to do the right thing and prepare for the future. There's some of the hiccups from the past that we have to deal with, and I think this is still one of the hiccups that we're gonna have to work with. so.
right, and we're in agreement, if we can't change the wording of the ordinance, then, the conditional use permit would be an option for us as well.
Okay.
All right, other commissioners? All right, seeing none.
City Commissioners, any questions for the applicant representative?
Nope.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So at this time, we can do public comment and all that, right, Toby? Same process, yeah. All right, so at this time, I'll ask anybody in favor of the application to come forward. All right, I will ask anybody in opposition of the application to come forward. All right, seeing none, I'll close the floor to public comment, and I'll ask for a motion from the Lincoln County side.
Can I just ask Toby something real quick?
Should we, should we want to make a motion and approval and then have a discussion?
Okay.
I'll offer a motion to approve the amendment, although I will not be supporting the motion.
Well, second, just so we can have discussion.
Okay, thank you. All right, discussion, commissioners.
Toby, I'm looking at the planning commission's consideration, and I'm just making sure I'm reading this correctly. It's really been a long day. So you are saying that it is not consistent with the comprehensive plan, right, in zoning? The new wording that they want to put in, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was reading that right.
Any additional discussion, commissioners?
Just a comment again, it's a motion and an affirmative, but I will be not supporting it. I do believe it does not meet our intent, and there's an individual property that it may be unfortunate, but it is part of the rules and they need to have protection as well, so.
Mr. Chairman, do we want to have
Yeah.
joint discussion at
Yes,
this point?
yes,
You
please.
guys have the question on the floor, but I wanted to clarify that.
That is correct, yes.
City Commission, any discussion that we'd like to add at this point?
Yeah, I have another question for Toby. So what is the option, is to either have a conditional use permit, or that's not an option in this situation?
Not an option, no.
I'm just curious, changing the language, do we have any idea on like how many properties this would affect? I mean, how many single-family residences are in an industrial zoning? Because it's hard for me to gauge an idea on how this affects the county as a whole without knowing some more specifics on who it would affect or how many people.
Okay, if I can get it pulled up here. When we're really looking at an amendment like this, I don't want to focus on one specific area, but I'll show you just for an example of really kind of what we're talking about. So this industrial, the Mueller Industrial Park is zoned I-1 light industrial. Well, there is a residential dwelling at this property here that was constructed in 1976, and then in 1996, it was rezoned to commercial, and then at some point, it was rezoned to light industrial. But there continues to be an and exist a single-family dwelling, which we would call a non-conforming use on that property. To the best of my knowledge, and there's, flukes everywhere, but this is the only, what I would say, non-conforming residential structure in the joint jurisdictional area. There is a residential structure here, but that would be protected by the amendment and the current ordinance because this would be within the A1 district. So to the best of my knowledge, there's only one particular structure that would be affected by this proposed amendment.
And that's in the entire joint jurisdictional as you know.
Yes. And so, I did meet with the applicant before they went through this process and, and the original comment was, well, it's difficult for us to plan. We're looking at properties and we look and see that it's zoned light industrial. And, we anticipated that this would work on this property, but of course, the 1,000-foot setback's gonna impact that particular property, so. But there is two, so, the applicant actually was approved for a license from Lincoln County to operate to the north of this. And then there was one that was just approved to the south here too, on this property here.
How far away are those?
They're further than 1,000 feet, yeah.
Thank
So
you.
it's an option. I mean, it's an option to go through the process that this would address that, is really the applicant's application, so. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, in my mind, I think the way the ordinance reads about being concerned about the closeness of a residence is still appropriate. To change the wording means, it kind of narrows the meaning a little bit. And I think since there is a way to get approval through a committee and through public comment to make it okay to be within 1,000 feet of a specific residence, which is really what this issue is, to me, it makes more sense to leave it in the fairly restrictive nature that it is, and it's kind of closer to the intended, the intent of the comprehensive plan. So I am not going to be in support of this one. I think it makes sense to leave it as is and let those specific conditions, even if there is more than one that turns out, as a opportunity for public comment before we get anything approved. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Commissioner Irvin. Any other comments from the city side?
All right. Lincoln County, Commissioner Hogan, I apologize too. We were doing that right and I jumped in, so my fault on that one, about asking for the motion ahead of time, so. But yeah, any other discussion on this one?
No, I do think that, yes, we have rules in place for a reason, and we need to be, protect everybody's concerns and welfare, not just one or the other. I think we need to take a big look at everything. And if we change this for one person, then we're gonna have to keep going flip-flop. I just don't, I think we need to just stick with what we have, and then, yes, they have an opportunity to come for a conditional use permit, and then we can go through the process that way. So I will not be supporting it.
Mr. Chairman, Toby can clarify, but I am not aware that there is a conditional permit process that would qualify for this location to go through. I think there's been some miscommunication on that or something, but at the same token, it's a residence, there's people living in it, it's a non-conforming, but it is a residence. The rule was about residences, and I guess I'm just not ready to change it at this time, so.
I do agree. I mean, it does make sense where this residence is more of a business, but we change it for one, we change it for the entire county, and I don't think we should do that, so. All right, with that, I'll take roll call. Commissioner Hogan, we may have a motion to approve, so a no would be to deny.
No,
Commissioner Hogan?
no,
Commissioner Ensted?
No.
Commissioner Green?
No.
Commissioner Poppins?
No.
Commissioner Jungley is also a no.
City Commission, and by the way, Mr. Chair, we do appreciate the opportunity to do the joint discussion. That way, on an issue like this, we're not
100% agree.
disjointed, so thank you for that. City Commission, the county has voted to not approve this particular item. Do I have commission action on the city side?
Move for approval for the sake of discussion.
I'll second. This is Kiddams.
We have a motion to approve for the sake of discussion and a second. Discussion, please.
I think I gave my 2 cents worth. It sounds like maybe Commissioner Paulson wants to say a word or two.
Commissioner Paulson, any comments at this point?
Just to agree with what Commissioner Irvin just outlined for us, and would lift that up as the reason for my vote.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments then? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Irvin,
No.
Commissioner Fisher,
No.
Commissioner Kiddams,
No.
Commissioner Paulson,
No.
and Commissioner Johnson's also a no. Thank you.
Thank you, all commissioners. All right, with that, consideration of new business, Mr. Brown?
None, Mr. Chairman.
All right, with that, we are on for a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against?
City Commission, the county has voted to adjourn. A motion on the city side.
So moved?
Second, Fisher?
Had a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that item? All in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. We're adjourned on the city side.
Thank you, everybody.